Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 46 of the legendary ArtaCast. We have to apologize a bit. Why do you always laugh when I say legendary?
It just feels like
ironic? Do you think it's ironic, or what do you?
I think it's a little bit ironic, yeah, but
No.
I don't know. We're approaching 50 episodes. Perhaps you can legitimately start using legendary or fantastic or whatever word you like to use. Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah, episode 46 of the ArtaCast. We have to apologize. Last week we didn't. It was a scheduling problem. We couldn't make an episode. But yeah, I hope you will forgive us. This week we are back with obviously a lot to talk about because it was the first DLC of this season, the biggest tournament of season 2 yet. So there's obviously a lot to talk about. Yeah, again, DLCs are just great. We had a lot of amazing games, and I think there is just much to talk about. But unfortunately, I want to start with you with something that was really sad, and that was just your story. Tell me, Ali, tell us your story of your DLC weekend. Tell it how long it was.
Yeah, sure. I think it actually, to make the story maximum tragic, you have to go back a couple of weeks. So let me paint you a picture. I had a really unpleasant couple of weeks. A couple of weeks ago, and it was all kind of going on around like the last episode and everything. And the short story is that I have a couple of very very close elderly relatives, and they one of them passed away, and one of them became very, very seriously ill and is still hospitalized at the same time, which put a lot of pressure on my family. And that's the background noise. That was a big distraction to me, and was what was going on in life in general, and kind of, yes, putting a bit of a damper on general feelings. One of the things I was very concerned about was the DLC, because I thought, well, it's sad. It's always very tragic to lose a close family member. It would be even sadder if I couldn't attend the DLC because I have to go to their funeral, for example. So my family, very, very kindly, have arranged all relevant dates on that side around the DLC to make sure I could attend. So that is your backstory, little sugar on top. That's the little cherry on top of the story. The next important piece of information is I do not live close to a major international airport. This story goes wrong at the airport, and I should say the airport is 8 hours from my home.
And I think I don't want to hear anymore.
Yeah. So just in case people think I'm being overly dramatic, or maybe I gave up a little too easily, I just want to set the context. And I'm laughing about it because what can you do but laugh? The short version is I went to the airport, and there was all sorts of travel disruption around Bologna. There were strikes ongoing. There were the protests for Gaza. All happening at the same time. And so everyone faced disruption in some form. But I think I got extra unlucky because I booked with British Airways rather than a budget airline, who, as it turns out, and actually one person commented and said this to me, and I hadn't considered it at all. It's really, really smart because it's exactly what happened. Everybody else's flights got... lots of the flights from the UK got diverted to a smaller regional airport near Bologna, and then they had to transfer from there. Mine was just flat out cancelled. Like, they offered to fly me to Milan, and that would have got me to Milan at like 2 a.m, and then I have no way on my own of getting to Bologna or knowing where or how to do it. I'm sure if I thought through, there probably would have been some way I could have attended the tournament with zero sleep. But on balance, I was offered that or like the flight compensation, and I took the compensation because I thought, how much am I really going to be? First of all, am I going to arrive there like sane? Well, I've completely lost my mind from trying to get there and no sleep, and then like 13 rounds of Lorcana. It started to look real bad. So yeah, my flight was cancelled at the last moment, and I ended up coming home. So I had like an 8-hour journey each way to play nothing, which really, really sucked. But also is like not the end of the world, right? It's it's really sad to miss that opportunity. And kind of a lot of people have been extending their sort of condolences on the, oh, sorry you couldn't do this, but it's just the hanging out with people. It's just the hanging out with people that I missed. You spend a lot of time existing in this space online, and you make a lot of nice friends, and you also have like listeners that you want to meet. And like every time I go to an event and people that listen to the podcast come up and say hello, like I love it. It's so validating. It lets me know face to face that we're doing something good. And just to miss that, like that's the bit that you can't get back, because like the tournament is whatever. We'll get into the tournament. But yeah, it's that bit that you miss out on that really sucks. So yeah, it was a pretty rubbish weekend. But I still had fun, and I enjoyed parts of watching the tournament. I enjoyed. I am for what it's worth. I'm also glad that it fell apart before I left the country. If that makes sense. Like if I'd been stuck there on my own, if I'd been stuck there on my own, or if everything had really got messed up over there, it would have been a far worse situation. So, yeah, just like an unfortunate chain of events. And I really did. I was planning to play Green Steel. Had a few modifications to the deck. I was going to play it, and I really think it could have done something in this tournament format. Again, we'll get into that loads more. It did, yeah. The Chromicon version did very well, yeah. And that was I was going to play a Chromicon Green Steel deck, and yeah, it did well. So. Again, that's like that comes with mixed feelings, doesn't it? Of well, that's cool that did well. But then
I was
just like I think I would prefer to. I would feel better if like my read, if I watched the tournament online and then I was like, whoa, that's so good I didn't go because my read was way off, and I would have just been trashed. But I do feel like the deck I had could have got something done, but it's so easy to say that from home. Like, of course, you can just sit here and say, "Well, if I'd attended, it would have. I had a decent shot of doing okay." But yeah, it's easy to say that.
I already told you the mentally healthy way to see that is like you have just to pretend that you would have gotten high rolled by 3 games in a row by a Blurple player.
And that's
just what you have to pretend, and so you can be. It was wise to dodge it. That's the best way to see it, you know.
And I don't even think, for what it's worth, I don't even think I really have to pretend that. Like I think there's a very, very fair chance of that happening. Like it could have played out exactly like that. That was the most likely outcome, and I'm sure we'll get into a little bit more of how this format kind of felt, but. Yeah, like the chances are I would have got there, spent a lot of money getting there, and then just had a terrible, terrible run. So, yep.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
It was really touching, of course, because like that's really, really sad that you could make it. But sometimes it's just unfortunate things happening and we can't do anything about it, but next time you will make it and then you will crush everyone, and they can all happy to dodging you because you would have won. I think you would have won the tournament. Outside of the 3 Blurples that beat you the first 3 rounds, you would have won.
Exactly.
If
we can ignore the fact that I would have immediately been sent home, I would have won. Like if we just ignore the fact that
I mean, who's gonna stop you? You know, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Who would have gonna stop you? I don't know.
No,
but yeah, next time. Then you just make it next time. It's no issue. I think you only need 1 invite to Worlds.
No. Yeah, it doesn't help to stack them up, does it? You don't get anything for the second one, so yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So why you are sad?
Yeah, I think one way that I've kind of, and I'm sure we'll get into this now that we talk about the tournament a bit more, but a nice way that I'm framing it is there are a ton of ways to encounter bad luck in the game as it is currently. You can hit bad matchups, you can hit bad draws, you can have your opponent hit their linear runouts, in which are like, for many of these decks, their best draws are almost completely unbeatable in a lot of situations. There are we will get into this. So I won't just keep saying we'll get into it. We will, because it's so easy for good players to have bad runs in the game as it stands currently, and in this tournament structure. So the way I've characterized it in my head is basically it's just an additional bad luck out, and there's every chance I would have hit a more frustrating way of leaving the tournament to bad luck than even this. So that's the approach I'm going with. It feels relatively healthy. And so now the experience is shelved. I'm filing it away in my head, and we move on and we look forward to next year.
Yes. And yeah, when we talk more specifically about the tournament, the meta share we saw, I think there were like 36% Blurple, and I think the second most played deck was like around half of that. Was the meta share in itself surprising to you, or was there any standouts for you? Some underrepresented or more represented deck that you thought they will be? I personally thought a bit less Blurple, but other than that, I think there was no real surprises there. I don't know how you see it. There was no single Emerald Ruby deck. That was a bit sad. And only one Ruby Sapphire. Ruby in itself was like devastating.
Yeah, Ruby is in an absolutely awful state. There is almost zero reason to play the deck. I know some people are trying to make Red Purple happen again. There is a like tier 2.5 damage movement deck that can exist. It's there. You can win with it. That is not because the deck's good. You can win with anything right now. So it's it does exist, but the state of Ruby is terrible. I think the only representation number that came close to surprising me was I felt Purple Steel was a little low. One of my reads was I thought Purple Steel would be very high for the weekend, and maybe represented by some of the Blurple. So like I would have guessed 30% Blurple, and then maybe that other 6 I would have allocated directly to Purple Steel. Outside of that, all the other numbers were mostly as expected. Outside of like a few rogue choices which showed up, and some of them were able to do really well. You're always going to see that at DLC. That's one of the things that's great about them, is that people will bring these decks they've developed in secret and rogue lists and stuff that come through and put up a good performance. So yeah, I think on the whole, as expected. But it's the conversion. It's the conversion that's the interesting point, I think. Looking at the top cut, the decks that made top cut.
The conversion rate for Blurple was slightly under. I don't recall them all correctly right now. I don't have them like on my desk right now. I think Blurple was slightly underperforming. I think there was like the percentages. I think I don't understand the conversion rate, honestly. Why is the conversion rate calculated like that? I think it's more. The conversion rate is calculated by percentages of player playing the deck making top cut, right?
Yeah, should be.
But that doesn't say anything. I think it's more. The conversion rate should be for me like percentages of players playing the deck, like 36%, in comparison to percentages of player that are the top cut with this deck, and that's like in that should be taken in comparison. I don't know if that was
I thought that was how the calculation did work, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, the calculation is just how many players of the top cut were playing the deck.
Oh, sure.
In comparison, how they are in total.
Right.
But I think Blurple is slightly underperforming. Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I think you're right. It should be in proportion to the number that registered it for the event. So that gives you the full. It should be showing you how many of the Blurple players converted into Top Cut as a percentage, rather than just what percentage of the Top Cut was Blurple. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that is slightly underperforming. I think the only overperforming deck was Amber Emerald, I think.
Yeah, it was the Dogs deck. That was the one with a really good conversion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the rest was pretty decent. I think nothing outstanding there. If I recalled it correctly, honestly, I didn't analyze it too much yet. I don't know if you did.
No, the standout point I wanted to talk about was the Dogs deck and their conversion. Lots of very, very good players had settled on Amber Emerald variants for the weekend. Very, very accomplished players, and some of them did phenomenally well.
Zach Bivens, I think.
Yes.
A lot of these, you could consider best players in the world play the deck. So
yeah,
probably
many Worlds competitors. Yeah, these are people that played in Worlds. So, they picked it.
Yeah, so probably they found out it to be like relatively consistently played Blurple, while also not lacking the other matchups too much. I think Purple Steel is still probably the deck you want to dodge. I'm not too much of an expert, but I think that sounds again dooming, but it's not dooming at all. I think I don't know how you feel about the Dogs deck, but I think the deck idea, the play patterns of the deck are a bit concerning for me. If you like for the future, if you are like able to do that consistently, like just playing a lot of cards, not turning them sideways till I don't know, turn 5-6, and then quest in 2 turns. If that's consistently doable, I think that is a really threatening thing, really scary thing for me for a metagame.
Yeah,
I think,
it is
because we need interaction. I think that deck has very less interaction. I think so. It's not something I see playing, and I think that's very interesting to watch because I think okay, they just play their cards and then they wait till they sing Under the Sea and then or something else, or just play these multiple tramps and then they quest at once. That's not very interesting to watch. I'm afraid for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah.
So if their next set comes a lot of good cards for that deck, wow, that's a scary thing, I think. But hopefully Ruby gets a bit of love again, and then we get because small Sisu or something is really, really good, for example, against a deck or something.
Yeah, well, Ruby needs some. I completely agree, and I think that the missing piece in our metagame at the moment is viable Ruby decks that actually threaten to sweep these boards. The sad, the sort of sad truth about our format as it stands currently is that a lot of problematic cards across the board, whether it's like all of the aggressive stuff or whether it's Genie, a lot of these things could really be regulated by Big Sisu in the format, but we hated her so much, and she was so oppressive in the last format that like she's not been reprinted because everyone hates her. But like a lot of the stuff that she was suppressing is now just like thriving without a sweeper, completely unthreatened. So that is like one of the issues. I really hope Ruby gets some love to come back up in its standing.
I don't know if we need exactly Sisu. Like if we have a viable Ruby deck that has just Brawl in it, I think that limits the strength of these decks.
Yeah, like just Brawl would be fine too. Yeah. It's but I think for me, like the Dogs deck, I know the Dogs deck has like quite a lot of creative lines, and there is a fair bit of room for skill expression within it. Yeah, which is true of all these decks. There is some room for skill expression within them, but it's like I was watching. I don't know if it was a top 8 or top 4 game yesterday, and the player drew like no big tramps, and then just started to draw Under the Seas, and it was so characteristic of the format for me. Was like, player plays a deck that does something extremely linearly powerful. If these cards are drawn in the right order, the strategy is near unbeatable. if they are drawn in the wrong order, the player simply loses, right? It's like these cards are like wild bricks when drawn at the wrong time, and completely game winning when drawn at the right time. And it's actually really symptomatic of the whole format. All of these decks are kind of like functioning in a similar way, outside of Blurple, which is just a wildly consistent central pillar of the format that decks like Dogs are kind of tuned to prey on. You have all these things, like it's crazy that even one of the cards I point to like this is Strength for a Raging Fire, which is like in your starting hand. A lot of the time, when your opponent isn't playing green and threatening to Ursula you, a single strength is completely core to your game plan. You are relying on whatever that key threat is developed, usually on turn 3, 4, or 5, being able to take that out for free, develop your board, go wide, and that's a key part of your steal plan. When top decking in the late game and you have nothing in play and you're like, I just need to draw a white rose or something to close the game out, and you then draw strength, like even strength can be bricky. These cards are all so wildly swingy. It's I just I don't even know how to fully formulate this idea, but these decks are all doing
I think people
they're all doing such swingy stuff. It's really swingy.
Yeah, just to sum it up with the Dogs deck, I think I have faith in these really good players like Zach and San and Sailor. That is probably still one of the best decks in the format, or maybe even the best deck in the format if you completely see the meta share. I don't know, you would have brought Green Steel, right?
Yeah, definitely. I had
Yeah,
Green Steel sleeved up and ready to go. I had a version of it that I was really, really happy with.
I would be,
and
yeah.
And I just all of the thought that went into that Green Steel deck originally, even though even though it was made expecting Blurple to drop a bit, I still stuck with that thought, which is across this tournament format, the Blurple decks, a lot of them are going to get blown out by Dogs decks, by Amber Steel, and I'm happy to consistently beat the decks that are beating Blurple. And that was my plan. I would go in and do that.
Yeah, it makes total sense.
In the early rounds, I think if I get like a Blurple in the first 2 rounds or something, I would back myself to still be in the game and have a good shot at beating them in a best of 3. I think like in those early rounds you can rely a little bit on skill gapping, and I think I could probably have a fair shout at doing that. And as we get further on, I would take all of the aggro, all of the dogs, all of those like rogue decks built to prey on Blurple and have a decent shot at beating some of them. That was the plan, and I think that it's solid. I think I wouldn't change my thinking.
Absolutely.
I would still, after watching the tournament, I'd be even more likely to run Green Steel. It's just, I think you can play.
I would be. Yeah. Sorry?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would be for sure even more convincing after the tournament. I would play Purple Steel. I think for me personally, I don't know. It seems so weird to say that because Blurple is also so strong, but it's like if you see the whole meta share, I think Purple Steel is the best deck for me in the format because like it has no major weaknesses. It is so, I have friends which played like 5 or 6 rounds Blurple and won 5 of them in Bologna, because it's so close to 50-50 that I think all the other matchups are you're so happy to see everything else that I think I would be so happy to register Purple Steel in this format. I'm really convinced about that. Although Blurple is really strong, maybe we take a look at some of these of the. I want to maybe see the winning deck list, and that was a Blurple deck. Let's show it now. I don't think it's too spicy. I get a lot of the thinking here. I mean, I played Blurple much, and I can really talk about some stuff here. I like One Jump Ahead. I always play that card. I think it's a good one-off. It's very good against Green Blue. It's more consistent for your only really error, which is missing ramp. And also sometimes even if you have Tipo, you can just Tipo and then sing One Jump next turn with your Tipo, which pulls you even more ahead. I think that's really cool. I also like the idea, and I've made it myself, that he plays no visions and no develop, which I also made the experience of being lackluster in so many situations because you have never time to play these cards. And yeah, I think the rest is pretty standard. There's one magical maneuvers in it that's really cool.
Yeah, I do like that card a lot.
Yeah. And the 2-cost Ursula, the 5-cost Ursula was really good in his matches. I really like it. It's just, you can see the card just as in 5th or 6th Elsa. And sometimes maybe using into the unknown of it, but it's not the. I think the deck is really solid. He played really well. He was also first seed. That is really crazy. Great run. I think I saw the finals. I missed it because I was sleeping. It was like 5 a.m. at my place, so I was sleeping. I watched it this morning. He played very well. I think well deserved. I think he played very patient, and I think that was a great, well deserved. Congratulations to Lükas. Lükas. I think it's. Sorry if I pronounced it wrong. Great. Already qualified for Worlds. That's crazy.
Yep, that must be a nice feeling.
Yeah.
You can just chill now for like a year.
Yeah, I don't know if you have anything to say about the list. You're not the Blurple guy, right?
No, I mean, I think that the thing that people will be drawn to is the lack of develops and visions. That's the thing that's really, really worth commenting on here, because like one magical maneuvers, that's cool, but that's like a very flexible card that is easily inked when you don't need it, and sometimes is going to do big stuff for you. Like there's a lot of picking up Hades and stuff like that you could just do late, like a reasonably stalled board when you can just exert like their one key threat, take it out with something you have in play while bouncing your Hades on a 9 ink turn, then replaying it and taking something else out. Massively swingy, very cool inclusion for that reason. The lack of develops, the lack of visions, though, will be divisive. Some people swear by those cards. They're key parts of the consistency of Blurple late game, in that often you're just finding it's so easy to find a major threat of some kind, whether it's kind of something to draw you more cards or whether it's just another Hades, whatever it is you're looking for. But I get not playing them. I totally see it. Like, honestly, if there's one thing I learned from watching this tournament, it's like just draw the right cards at the right time. Just get paired into the right decks and draw the right things. Like, forget consistency. Just allow chance.
Not forget it, but if you have. Yeah, it's true. It's true what you say, and you rarely have the 2 additional ink. That's the problem, also. Like,
yeah, right.
Rarely to the 2 additional ink to play visions. And I think visions is so often ink, and if you ink that card nearly always, then except for some top decking situations where it's done great, of course, but yeah, you play your Hades and you play maybe another Hades, and then it's like, and it's at least in my experience, I totally get that. And you're right. Just be oppressive enough. You need to be oppressive in this metagame and not consistent. I mean, you always need to be consistent, but it's like
it's hard to say because Blurple is such a consistent deck in general, but there's something to be said about this, and this is going to be a slight tangent onto tournament format just for a moment. The number of conditions that you need to go right for you to make top 32 of these tournaments now, these new structured DLCs, is so many, right? You need things to be going. You need to be winning a decent number of dice rolls. You need to be finding a decent number of It's not about finding great matchups. You can't hope for just like 10 rounds in a row of your best matchup, but typically every deck has something it wants to dodge, and you'll need to dodge those things a decent amount. You need to draw the right cards in the right order. You need to have your opponents stumble a little bit. Smoothing and building for consistency does not appear to be the way that these tournaments are won. It's like consistency and making sure your deck does the same thing every single time to a reasonable standard versus like failing. There are arguments in both directions, right? Because it's like make one misstep and you're out of contention. So you need your deck to be consistent. However, many of the players that seem to have risen to the top have had fortunate runs of luck in some form, whether it's matchup, dice roll, good runouts, drawing the right cards in the right order. All of these things that make someone with my kind of mindset lean towards I will lean into that. I will happily accept that I need these things to go my way and lean a little away from consistency and more towards like invite luck into my life by not having these like vision and stuff like that smooth things out in favor of having more cards in the deck that when drawn at the right time have very explosive, very swingy effects, like magical maneuvers, like that turn I just described there. Think about a 9 Hincq turn of vision, find Hades versus a 9 Hincq turn of magical maneuvers, exert your, let's say, Dumbo, take it out with a thing I have in play, bounce back my Hades after questing with it, replay the same Hades. You achieved the same sort of thing, but one is much swingier. You've had a much bigger effect on the board in total than doing this consistent thing. And obviously one is situational, but you need to like when these situations happen and they present themselves throughout games, it's swingy things like that that are going to push you to the top of this field that is exceptionally hard to get to the top of. It all has to go your way. You can't make any mistakes, and you need to be exceptionally lucky. So that's warping my thinking a bit. I don't know if it's correct or what. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm pushed.
Yeah, I think that's always the case. Maybe it's more or less right now than in the past with these consistency versus swingy stuff. I think that was always the case. I think, for example, Steel Song was always like this deck of, you could say, trading consistency for high roll potential. You can say
Yep.
that was
for sure.
But other decks like Red Purple was always like this. I have nearly no swingy stuff, but have the pure consistency, and it won both NA and Europe Continentals. So it's like hard to say. Maybe it's more or less the case right now. I think cards like Visions and stuff and these consistency cards are made for decks that have board wipes, and we have no board wipes right now.
Yeah,
and
right.
Of course, they lack a bit because Visions is a B prep card. Like you have like the Visions is a card. I think you play these cards with a lot of board wipes and stuff, and just catch up tools and not to find another genie or stuff like and that's what we do. That's how we win. We win by deploying more genies than my opponent and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And
yeah.
That was never the case in the past. I mean, there was so many ways you can come back but now 2 genies and you have no evasive on board and you lose, and that's
game over.
Yeah, so I think it's very hard to answer that. Probably you are a bit right. Yeah, I would say you are a bit right. I think, but that is always like my identity crisis for forever. Like how much, because I was always this player. Like, I think Ed is also a good example for that. The pure consistency is like, like it's always more appealing to me to not play a lot of bricks, but on the other hand, like these bricky, I don't know whether it's bricky, these cards that are just situationally good but then very good, win a lot of tournaments, so you can't argue against it. I think a good example is also like the green-blue deck. That's one of the decks I'm at least interested in playing myself. I think this deck seems like it has 40 bricks in its deck, and but it's like it's still very powerful, and players like Rob the Han and people play it, and I think but you really need to manage the brickiness of the deck with your skill, you know, like you need to overcome this with just playing intelligent and stuff. But it's more appealing for me to have just a lot of, I don't want to say maybe not situational broken cards, but situational useful cards, and then I have to choose which is the best right now. I think that's more my play style, just, and I think you can't probably completely erase that. But it's always, I think it's in general, it's good to have these different play styles, but to find out which is the strongest, it's even now hard right now, because you can say your theory is right, but on the other hand, Blurple won, and this is the most consistent deck of the
tournament. Sure.
You know? So and
it cuts.
It didn't win. Like it's hard to say.
It cuts both ways, right? Because it's like if you want to have a lucky run, you can of course build and make deck and card selections that lean into more explosive, high rolly outcomes, making those more likely for yourself. But because those things cut both ways, like high rolls come with low rolls, also building to minimize low rolls is also valid. So it's like, I may as well have said nothing. It's just play what you like and get lucky.
I think that's totally reasonable. I think makes total sense what you said. I think it's just hard to analyze these things and make them objective. I think that's very hard to say, because like you see the stacks and then you think this is full of bricks, but then they are successful, and then you think, okay, I just need to. I think it makes total sense to think that way. I don't know if maybe it is that way, and we play too fair Lorcana. Just that's still the case, probably. Maybe.
I mean, I'm just really struggling to move past this. If you look at the players that attended this tournament, like we said earlier, you really did have the vast majority of players who have either proven themselves to be the best in the world, like DKP, or are in contention for the GOAT conversation, you know? Your Zach Bivens, Ed, Kendall, Sailor, these players.
Yeah.
And there were tons of them. There are many, Frank Carsten, there are many more I'm not naming.
I think that's the most stacked field we ever had, I think, in a DLC like this time.
I have never seen a more stacked tournament.
Except us, of course. We would have.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Well, of course, we weren't there, so yeah. So there's only so stacked it can be because we weren't there. But I have never seen a field more stacked in my life, and I have never recognised fewer names in a top 32.
Yeah,
what's going on? What's going on?
That's a very good point. And I thought about that. And then I saw DKP having an interview, and he said like this format is like very good for newer players. He said, and it's like I think he wanted to say like it's not the best skill expression meta game. I think I don't want to speak for you, DKP, if you hear that, but it's like but that's fair. I think that's fair if it would be like that. I don't mind it too much. I think there are already like more skill expressive or less skill expressive meta games. I feel it is a bit less skill expressive this time also. But I'm not completely sure about that. But if that's a very good that's again a very good point you said right now. I think there was so many players not even making day 2, honestly.
Yep.
A lot of these very good players. And that's a point for me where I say, okay, probably we had more skill expressive meta games in the past. And I still make it to the point of like B prep and stuff. It's at I was on a set champs here in Japan at the weekend again, and played my red purple deck and got Diablo shifted game 1 and Pro 4. And then no, honestly, no. I lost a very close game against Green Steel, but then
Sure
I played
you
in
did.
red purple. And then I played a red purple mirror, and I really thought, okay, this is more chess than now. I think we have this B preps and stuff, and you have so many way more different game plans. Just the one deck just wants to wipe the board, the other deck wants to discard, the other deck wants to play whole new world. We have still a lot of these mid-rangey right now, these mid-rangey vanilla characters who plays more vanilla bodies on the board, and I think it's less diverse, but that's fair. I think if we analyzed it, I also thought about set 1. We all praised the meta game set 1. It was so great. Yeah, like we had this blue yellow mid-range and we had red purple. I think with the experience now and coming back to that, I don't know if we would have enjoyed that too much. There was not that much diversity. There was this red purple absolutely hyper control deck, and there was blue yellow mid-range a bit, and Steel Song, and there was really no contender of in any means to be able to combat these decks. And I don't know if we would enjoy that. It was all new and stuff. We enjoyed it, but I don't know if we would have enjoyed it now.
I think in hindsight,
we would come back to it.
Yeah, in hindsight, it would be tough to enjoy those formats. But I think for me, it just kind of comes down to, I think, factors outside of the game itself, like the match you're playing, are way more important and are having an outsized impact on results in this format than previous ones. It's the other thing that people will, I mean that matchups are really polarized. The catch-up tools aren't there for when you go second. Everyone is trying to just curve out in a really perfect way because the catch-up tools aren't there. It rewards whoever curves out best. So that all of these things just put variables outside of the player's control on the table. You must find the right matchups. You should win a good number of dice rolls. You should draw the right cards in the right order and hope your opponent doesn't do the same. These things are all more important than they've ever been because of the absence of reliable catch-up tools for the most part. And the other thing that people are going to put in the firing line this weekend is best of 3 format. I think best of 3 is great, and some people have soured on it instantly because it makes the dice roll so important. I think best of 3 is great. I just think it's really, really unfortunate that we've been given best of 3 as our tournament format at the exact same time that game design has determined, for whatever reason, you shouldn't have any there shouldn't be any realistic way to catch up in any game outside of like your opponent suddenly bricks and takes a turn off. Like losing a sweeper, it just has a wild cascading effect on this game. Something went wrong at some point. We should have had something that means you can't just slowly amass a curved out board and just constantly slam big threats every turn and do these huge swingy things with no real way of interacting with them. It's just, I don't know, something feels off. Something feels like it wasn't intended. No one intended it to be this way. This is a weird little turn of events for the game.
Yeah, I already said, like, I enjoyed. I didn't enjoy because I didn't do well in paper tournaments, but I think 2-game format was reasonable, and I think the games we play way more games now. Best of 3, we play 12 rounds. That in 2-game format would be not like we played like 9 rounds. It would be like 14 rounds or 15 rounds. So it's like, I would really love that much rounds in 2-game format. I would really, really love that. But still, I don't know. It's like, I think, I know even some really good players did complain about it, but I think in the end of the day, it's still, I don't want to. It's still a bit lazy to pull it on the format. I think to put it on the format. I think it's. I think if you didn't make it, it's not the format most of the time. I think you. I don't think a lot of these games or the players would easily made it in 2-game format. Then I don't know. I think in 2-game format you need a lot of luck. In 3-game format too. But of course, the dice roll means something again, and it didn't mean something in 2-game format, and that was the upside. And they made that, and I totally got it from the start till the end. And people were complaining, they reversed it. So now we want it back. So they think, what do you want? What do you want to do? What do you want? And the best thing about best of 3 for me is still by far these nonsense IDing. I win 5 rounds and I IDing 4 rounds, then it's so stupid. It should be completely forbidden to ID, but it's hard to do that because some people do it anyway, and you can't control it and stuff.
You can't.
So
it's not stoppable. We know it's not preventable. So
yeah, but then I think that it's so widely. I still don't get it why it's so widely accepted that we ID. I think it should be something just like, I don't know, gentleman agreement style thing that we just don't do it, but it's just widely accepted that we do it. I think even in football or soccer or something, if you made it through the group stage, you still play the game. I don't know. They still play. They still want to make goals and even win if they can't make it anymore. I think it's still like, even if your opponent can't make it and you can make it, it's still competition disruption to ID then, because it's not the rightful outcome out of the. If you lose, you lose. Point. I don't know if your opponent has something about it or not. You lose, you lost. You have less achieved than some other players. That's ID is disrupts that. But yeah, I know that the most players outside of me don't agree there, and yeah, so I have to accept it. But I really hate IDing, and that's way less in best of 3, and that's what I like about it. That's the best upside for me.
Yeah, I mean it's nice. I mean I don't feel as strongly about IDing. I think that it's something you can go in circles with the moral debate, and every time you open it up, you just go over the same ground again and again. The mark against it for me is it's annoying. I actually don't want to take a break in round 7 to do a load of math just on paper and work out if it's optimal for me to take a draw with someone. I'd rather just play the game. But you can't just play the game, because your aim is to make the top cut, and at some point it becomes optimal to take an ID, and you earned the right to get into the position to have that ID. I also agree a blanket ban would be good, but it's not enforceable, because you can just simulate a game basically.
Yeah.
With the unspoken agreement to
you need to have a judge on every table but it's not doable.
Yeah, it's not enforceable, so you have to, because it's not enforceable, you have to accept this is something that will happen, and the only way you can really do it is through creating tournament structures that disincentivize it. And I think so on that front, great. I think this structure it makes it far less likely that you're going to get into those situations where you have to start thinking early about IDs. The less thinking about IDs I can do, the better. I don't care that anybody else does it. I think if you've done it and it's paid off for you, you earned the right to do it. Great. I would just prefer to not think about it, because I find it annoying, and it's gutting when you think you've done perfect math and then it's wrong. You know, like, hey, I can perfectly ID into top 32, and then you come 33rd, and you're like, great, I did this to myself.
It goes even further. it goes even further that I were in some tournaments and people. That's really something I want to point out. People can't be judged by not wanting to ID. That's
Yeah,
something
sure.
I can't accept that. If someone judges me by not IDing, I don't know. I don't really get what these people think, because you want to judge me because I want to play the game like it's supposed to be. I really don't get it. I even if I play just for higher seed, even if I just want to knock you out of the tournament, it's totally reasonable to want to play the game. But I don't want to. I
Yeah,
mean, it's not necessary to jump on that too much.
it is actually a really good time to talk about it though, because we're in a format where so we've just started our set championship season, and I would really encourage people at set champs this time round to play for their Swiss standing, like play for the ability to go first in top 8. I know that like at lots of set champs of like 20 to 30 players, people start taking IDs to lock top 8. I get it. The promo is very, very pretty. But you really should be playing for your Swiss position and trying to win this tournament, because you were in a very good position to do so if you finish top of the Swiss, as evidenced by our winner of this DLC. Going first is good, and if you can play well enough to secure yourself a top 8 of all going first, you are in very, very good standing. And so I'd really encourage listeners to do it. And if you're used to just IDing all the time at these set champs, like,
and don't feel bad if your
yourself
opponent,
a bit.
Yeah, and don't feel bad if your opponent doesn't understand it. You have my approve. You have my just hear Artabax voice in your background and say it's totally nice. Do it. Play for just higher seed. Don't care about your opponents.
No, that's the other thing. Don't allow yourself to be pressured into it.
No, yeah, really. That's really what's something I want to point out. It's not something you should do, because I know the feeling. You don't want to be rude or something, and then it's weird, and but it shouldn't be that way.
No.
But the time runs away. We want to talk about some decks still.
Yes, we should talk about other decks.
I want to really talk about the 4th place, or like top 4.
Yep.
Which was I know him very good. Very good is too much. His nickname is Asiate Süß-Sauer, which is really funny because it means in German. How is it called in English? You have this Asian food which is sweet and sour. The sauce, and it's just the German. Asiate Süß-Sauer means just Asian sweet sour. That's a very funny name. And I know him since the start of the game. He was always in my Twitch when I streamed back in the day, and he's just a magician. I think I don't exaggerate here. He's one of the best players in the world, because he never plays Lorcana, it seems like. I met him last year in Bochum, and he said like, I didn't play like for 5 months now. I don't know what's actually happened. And he made top 32 in Bochum. And here again, I think he plays 3 times Lorcana a year. And he makes top. He's a mastermind. I don't know how he does that. He's really, 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 really good. He's a really also nice dude. I really was happy for him. And he was playing Purple Steel, nearly the same how I would play it. I think there's not too many spices in here. Probably debatable are like the 2-cost Jafar is not in every deck. Only two of the 2-cost Bims. I would play probably 3 to 4 because I really love that card. But I think only 3 Ismas. Most lists are on 4 Ismas. But I think that's really, really standard list. I don't know if there's something for you that stands out. I don't.
No, this feels like where the lists have roughly landed in terms of their there's a slightly higher than normal number of Jafars. It's whatever. Like you get close to having the full 12 of your heavy card draw 4-drops, right? So yeah, your Dumbos, Genies, and Yzmas, and that's what the build looks like. And some of them shave a couple copies, some of them play a couple bells, some of them don't. But for the most part, this is your very consistent expression of purple steel. Not surprised to see it do very well in the hands of a great player. It was one of my top picks coming into the weekend. And yeah, I think very few surprises there. You could take this to any tournament this set and expect to reasonably do well as long as you know it well.
Yeah.
Super versatile, very good deck that has a ton of room for skill expression, and yeah, it's a high pick for me.
Yeah, it's also a very high pick for me. And the fact, it was very close. I think how he lost to Blurple, so it was sad. Also, the final went into 5 games. So that also shows how close the match. I still think as a Blurple player, you don't win against 1, 2, 3, 4 cost strength. You don't win against that. Like it's as swingy as these Blurple on the play lines is. I don't think they are too much different. In Blurple, it's Elsa turn 4. In this deck, it's strength turn 4. It's not like it's a bit less consistent by doing that, and it has some counterplays that are really weird, like the elephant or stuff. It's still slightly unfavored against Blurple. I really, really agree there, but it's only as bad as the matchup can get. I don't think it's
one of the really interesting cards in the matchup, because you would think it's quite terrible against Blurple, is Fire Cannons. And actually, it's often a key part of these, like, almost unwinnable game states for Blurple. That line you've just described, the one drop, 2 drop, 3 drop, then strength on turn 4 with your 3 drop. If you instead of playing a 4 drop like Genie, if your turn 4 is another 3 drop plus a cannons on, like, to clean up their basil while you strength something, and you genuinely take them down to 0 cards in play, they will not win that game. They cannot deploy threats faster than you. They can only like Elsa one thing, and Elsa doesn't do anything, and they then spread across multiple turns. You just get them on the crackback with your Genies and stuff. It's just, they will not win those games. And actually, those 1 drops, living or dying, often makes the complete difference. The difference between having a Basil in play going into their Elsa turn, for example, versus not having it in play is massive. It takes it from Elsa kills virtually anything instantly to Elsa achieves nothing, which is really a really big difference.
Yeah, absolutely agree there. The problem is with Fire the Cannons in this format is like it's way worse in Purple Steel than in the past, because in the past you had a lot of these cantrip 1 drops. So you're on turn 2, you could play way more better turn 2s with this card. You could just play Fighter Cannons Chernobyl or Fighter Cannons Magic Room, and now you play Diablo, and then you play Fighter Cannons, and then you don't want to really play a hook then besides that, because it's like very bad for your hand economy. And then so that's sadly a bit worse, but Fighter Cannons still a good card.
Totally. It's like perfect 2 for me. I love it as a 2 in any steel deck at the moment, and have for a long time.
Great. Congratulations to you, Nick. Great outcome. Well deserved. I always think there's something there when you play Purple Steel and get so high in top 4. I think there is always skill there involved to reach with this deck, because people consider this as the most fair deck, and it is like the most fair deck of the format. Like, strength is like the only really crazy swingy card of this deck, but it's also like the most consistent deck of doing that and not running out of cards then. So I think to reach something with that is like you need to know everything what you do, and I think that's I think the matchups against Amber Steel and Chernodogs really carry this deck to a really top contender for me for the meta game.
Nice.
Yes. what you want to talk about? You want to talk about Green Steel, right?
Yeah, I want to talk about this Chromicon Green Steel deck that made top 4. For a lot of people, this will have been their first experience even seeing this deck. But it's been in development for a little while, a few different expressions of it, and I know that, like, some of our friends, like Primor, has been working really hard on this for a long time, and I've dipped in and played a fair amount of it as well. It is a very explosive deck that really is built more than any other of these Chromicon decks. Really built to exploit the fact that players do not understand how to play well into an Emerald Chromicon.
Yeah.
When Emerald Chromicon comes into play, it casts mass confusion, often on both players.
Yeah.
Like often will
Yeah.
mess things up for you as well. Like it's like chaos in a card, and just leads to these. There are such incredible lines with it. It suddenly makes every decision you make very
Weird.
consequential.
Yeah.
They all change in terms of what you want from them, and they all matter so much more. So it's kind of like I think that, like, in this format, often some of these games can feel like two ships passing in the night, doing very little to interact, just executing their linear plan. And then I love Emerald Chromicon because you slam it into play and it's like, surprise, surprise, you have to make decisions, and they're going to matter. Like, what? I'm not used to my decisions mattering. I just put a genie into play every turn. Like, got you. You now have to actually think hard about what you're going to do, because I'm going to turn everything sideways, and you have to challenge in the right order. And yeah, so it's just a phenomenal card for that, and just the effect that the deck has in play. Like, you do all these things where you kind of pressure with the really aggressive stuff like Merfolk, and then, like, they can't afford not to challenge, but if they challenge, you're going to bounce your own dock with a Chromicon and just draw 2 extra cards every single turn while keeping a dock standing. Yeah, super techie little aggro list that is. I saw people like really critiquing Bruno, some of the plays on Twitch chat and stuff, which also is super easy to do from home. It's really hard to sequence with this deck. And the margin for error is huge. So I would say just be a little generous. But when it gives you so much scope to create such interesting board states where the opponent is put in such weird spots where they can't. Like, they're damned if they do, damned if they don't. They have to challenge, but they can't not. But if they do, they lose their other challenges. If they have nothing else in play, you just bounce your own stuff. And yeah, a lot of room to do really creative stuff.
I like a lot of the thinking here. I think for Blurple, this is really hard to beat. This is really hard to beat. One Chromicon is really. I think the deck. My honest opinion about the deck is, it is completely broken, but it needs one Chromicon and one dock every game. And that's the only downside of it. But if it finds that the deck is completely broken, it's like the good thing what I like about this list is it should suffer against like Jonadok and Ember Steel a bit, especially on the draw. But then you have four Lewis, which are sometimes just alone winning these matchups. So I like the matchup spread this deck should have. And as long as you find your docks and your Chromicons, this deck is absolutely an absolute blast. And even if you know what you do, it's really hard with Blurple to win against this deck. It's really hard, I think. Especially I think this is really I really want to take to win against Blurple. I really want that. He plays even these Phillips and these Heathcliffs. So that he totally commits for the Blurple matchup here. At least that's my feeling. And worked out perfectly for him. And what you just said about the Twitch chat, that's also something I really want to say publicly, because it's something I really annoyed me. I don't think it's a good. I don't know. I want to start different. I don't think Lorcana is a toxic community at all. I think it's a very cool community, and the most people are very generous, and I really enjoy to be a part. If I see the Twitch chat, most of the time I turn it off because I can't stand like 80% of the messages there. It seems like, and especially how toxic they are. But then I think only the toxic player right sometimes. And when I say 80%, it's not 80%, you know what I mean? But it's like a lot of, I don't know, insulting even messages. And I don't get that. I don't like it. And I would just encourage everyone to not do that because there are so many reasons for people making misplays. I don't think everyone would play it perfectly, even not on turn in top 4. I saw, for example, in final, I think the purple sea player missed the Dumbo draw. He had 1 ink left and just quested with him with his 3-cost genie, although he had Dumbo in play or something. What you of course could call a stupid misplay, but I don't think it's good to do that. He played a long tournament and somehow he got there, probably not purely with luck. And I saw some even other good, really crazy good players in this best of 5 from him. So I don't judge him by single misplays, and you shouldn't. I really would encourage you to not do that. And that's what I want to point out. I really love the Lorcana community for its kindness, and not that I don't know, in other communities I was like, if I play League of Legends, if I get killed once, I get told my mother should get a terrible disease, and I don't think that's good, you know. It's just so stupid, and I don't think we are far away from that in Lorcana. But I think, yeah, maybe sometimes it's like in the first idea I think, oh, that was so stupid, but then maybe we should think about it more and then think, okay, play the long tournament. Everyone can make the misplays, especially on stream. I don't know if you ever played on stream. That's a different thing. Yeah, so that's something I just wanted to say.
Yeah. I think you're completely right, and there's a bit of a problem. There's a bit of a problem with coverage in general, which is that I think when we all tune in to watch tournaments, especially the late rounds, we expect this is a massive tournament. It's incredibly hard to get to the top. What I'm going to see now is a perfect expression of absolutely skilled gameplay. There is so much more going on than you realize. Like a perfect expression of that is just not possible. You're 13 rounds deep. Everyone is incredibly tired towards the end of these tournaments. Throughout the tournament, even the experience of getting pulled for a feature match is really jarring. When turning up at your table and a judge just going, right, stand up, off with your stuff, you're going on stage. And you're like, what? I didn't prepare to play on stage. I'm just a dude who plays this game and I just want my nice quiet game. No, get on the stage. You're going to be commentated now. And you're like, what? You'd be so shaken from the whole experience, like, which sounds like a joke, but an element of that is really true. It's suddenly sprung on you. You're not prepped for it. You're a bit disoriented. You've got a headset on. Wow, what? Like, where even am I? It is a big thing to have to play through, and you get used to it, of course, with experience. But for most players, it'll be their first time doing it, and the first time doing it, it really can be jarring, and it really is something you need to adjust to. So this idea that you're always going to see perfect gameplay, it's like, when you're watching on stream, you're kind of watching gameplay like under duress. This is a hostile environment to have to play in. It's really tough to know so many eyes are on your game, to know that in the back of your head, even thinking things, what are the commentators going to say about that play? And one domino falls, the next one falls. You realise that you passed the turn without drawing with Dumbo, or all for your opponent's turn. What do you think you're thinking? Your head's gone from that game. The next mistake will follow because all you're thinking is, these people are going to be really chewing me up for that silly little oversight I just made. It's so easy to get lost in these thought patterns during it that, yeah, I think that of course, we want to see very, very high quality gameplay. And of course, when we think we spot a misplay, we're going to want to talk about it as well, because we sort of,
Yeah,
that's your
of
natural
course.
inclination is, oh, I wouldn't have done that. I would have done that really differently. That feels like a mistake to me. I'll now type that out because I want that validated so that I know my own thinking was right. And that's kind of why Twitch chat exists, right? So it's not like it's wrong to talk about it, but just like you have to have a bit of compassion for the stress and strain that these players are under. It's not easy at all. Like I say, you'll have very cool, calm, and collected, experienced players that have done it a million times, and they will be able to put on a real show for you. So what you can look forward to at things like Worlds is that these players will not have any issues playing on camera. But for a lot of people, it's really, really tough, and yeah, they deserve a little break.
Yes. Yeah, totally agree there. Please, if you say that, I don't talk to everyone. There's some people which in the chat I don't talk. I think we are in a great community. I love Lorcana community really. I don't want to say like we are toxic, everyone. It's just that's what I experienced when I saw the Twitch chat, and then I thought, okay, I need to talk about it. Yes. What do we say about Green Purple? It's back,
Yeah.
but it's
Let's
back
have a look.
in the most different way it can be to our literation.
Yes,
We had
this is. Are you before you
how
talk about the deck? Are you
yeah
familiar with
yeah
the concept of the cursed monkey paw? Have you heard of that?
no
So
no
I don't even know where it comes from, but it's like a preserved hand of a monkey that you make.
uh-huh.
If you have one, you can make wishes, and when you wish, a finger curls in, and that's one wish gone. But it's always like a cursed wish. It's like you get
Uh-huh.
what you asked for, but so
Yeah, okay, I
this
get it.
feels
I
this
get
deck
it.
to me is like someone had a cursed monkey paw and wished for green purple to be playable, right? I wish for green purple to be a playable deck again. They're like, you got your wish. You go 4 amethyst Chromicon. And they're like, no, not like this. This isn't not like this. So
Exactly that. It's exactly that. No.
I think
Um.
this is
Yeah.
extremely cool and creative deck building. But yeah, please take us
Yeah.
through it a little bit.
Um. Yeah, the deck is. I mean, I played in the last. What was it? Was it last set or the last set before? There was like this. It's kind of similar to this Maleficent Staff deck that we had like 1 or 2 sets ago, which was nearly competitive. But this has a bit of a different win condition. So what this deck does is using the Amethyst Chromicon, of course, which is a key card for the deck, and then drawing a bunch of cards and then playing Bend of My Will. This is basically what this deck does. And by consistently removing all of the opponent's threats, with a lot of removal in this deck, I think there's no deck with more removal than this deck. This has I don't know, 3 Under the Sea, You're Welcome, this Stop Chaos in its tracks, and it has this Mother Gothel, it has Cusco, it has nearly all the removal and Bend to My Will. But all this removal this deck has is basically just how can I say? I don't want to say bad removal, but bad removal in terms of card quality. Often, of a lot of these cards give bouncing the opponent cards or removing them and the opponent draws a card, and you you utilize this by playing Bend to My Will at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And then you stop. You draw the whole time with Amethyst Chromicon till you play your Bend to My Will, and then you stop drawing with Amethyst Chromicon. So, and then you just out resource your opponent, remove the last existing threats, and then you win the game. And I think that's quite I think against Blurple, for example, I can really see that. It lacks ramp. That's a bit of a problem for a deck like this.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it up with this Hey a bit on the draw, but Hey is not the best ramp card. So I think the missing ramp is a real downside for this deck. But yeah, it's a great, cool idea, and I think it's a cool deck. I don't think it's tier 1, but maybe not even tier 2. But yeah, I think it's a really cool deck.
Yeah.
And yeah, of course.
It's a very creative. It's a very creative metacal and like a very creative way of solving the Blurple problem. Blurple is one of these decks that really doesn't run out of resources, but it also doesn't like hoard resources. It keeps just enough cards to do 1 to 2 very powerful things every turn. This preys on that by putting so many resources into your opponent's hand that their ink becomes their constraining point. There is only so many things they can do. Overfill their hand with all of your bounce, all of your conditional removal, use your own Clarabelle to draw 1,000,000, and then bend them. And it's a really solid game plan. Really, really good. For me, and we were kind of joking before we started recording the episode. This is a deck I can never play. I can't ever play something like this because Donald Duck Perfect Gentleman and Amethyst Chromicon are my 2 most hated cards. When they're on my side of the field, I can deal with that. I don't hate to see them on the opponent's side of the field. I can deal with them. I understand what I need to do when they're in play. I cannot play with these cards. If I put them in my deck, I will lose. They lead to terrible decision making for me, and it's important to know your weaknesses. These are certainly weaknesses. The decks that these cards typically find themselves in, I have no interest in playing them whatsoever because I cannot do it effectively, and so I won't try. So for me, it's off the table. I think it seemed to be a group of primarily British players that cooked this up, and very knowledgeable players, all kind of large numbers of them known for being deck builders in the first instance and always trying to take a slightly different view into the format. I think it's such a huge achievement, and it's a really huge achievement to put up good results with a completely fresh list like this. I think getting the deck on camera multiple times, something everyone can be proud of. Making deep runs in the tournament with something completely fresh, also something to be proud of. And all of the team involved in creating it, I think, very, very cool and really good effort. It solves many of the problems of the format in a really, really creative way. It has its own drawbacks, of course. All decks do. But to just insert something new like that into the format deserves credit, deserves props. If you think that you can't solve the problems a format presents, like look at lists like this, and there is always a way of thinking that can enable you to attack the format from a new angle, even if it looks super weird, which this obviously does at first glance. But the thinking behind it is so sound, and it just takes that kind of it takes some of the key strengths of these dominant decks, flips them on their head and says, okay, so if this is how you're playing, I'll do this, and then like, who cares? Your greatest strength becomes meaningless because we both have so many resources and I'm just going to bounce everything. You can continue to deploy 1 thing a turn, I'll bounce 2. Then I'll bend you. Like, cool, I lose. So I think, really great effort to everyone involved, and I know that we've pulled up Justice's version of the list. I think there's a few different players played different ones. I know a guy called David made a very deep run with it. I know that Reese and the gang from Team Imperial were heavily involved in the testing. I think, I don't have insight into it, but I think just want to give credit to all the right people, and many more that were collaborators with these people. So great effort, and it's really, really cool to see. I can't play it, but I'm glad you can. is my conclusion.
That's reasonable. It's also not my playstyle too much. But it's I wouldn't say you can't play it. You are too harsh on yourself. If I would see this deck as meta breaker, I would, even if I can't play it, right now, I would learn myself to play it. You know, I can't accept me convince myself to I can't play this deck. I'm too. I see myself too competitive to think that. Maybe I'm too confident.
Oh yeah, like if this had won the tournament, I'd be putting 100 hours into it and just trying to perfect it. But it's got so many of the. There are just some cards that, like, I think every player every player probably has some element of this feeling, right? And I hopefully this resonates with people.
Yeah, of course.
There are some cards that are like poison to you. If you put this card into a sleeve in your deck, like something happens, like something goes desperately wrong. Any like skill you have, any ability to win the game disappears. And this list hits 3 of them for me. It's Donald, Amethyst Chromicon, and Under the Sea. If I put any of these 3 cards into a deck, like I am losing. I'm about to put up the worst performance of my life. And I don't know if I could really even tell you why, but these cards are like pure poison to me personally. Like this is, it just will. It would be self-sabotage for me to try and pursue this kind of strategy. I need, for whatever reason, I'm sure there's something you can unpick about the play style, and it's that kind of like mirrored gain of resources. I'm always trying to play an attrition war, and these cards that draw your opponent up as well just don't align with that. So there is something going on there. But yeah, I've learned over time which cards I need to lean away from. Doesn't mean other people do. Like for some people, this could be an exceptional toolbox that attacks the format really creatively and just smashes everything. I think for a lot of people that are not enjoying the game currently, it's actually really something to consider heavily because of that factor. It plays such a different game. It has such a different game plan to a lot of the things that people are doing at the moment that you might find this to be a real breath of fresh air.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Yeah. Is there anything we didn't talk about yet?
No, I think we've gone for a long time today, and I think we've talked a lot about general feelings on the format and tournament and everything. I wanted to give some shout outs very quickly. On the coverage side of things, I think the team did a great job. I know that the tournament had a few operational challenges and the team sort of did their very best. I'm sure behind the scenes people worked incredibly hard, so shout out to them first of all to bring the show together for the weekend. But I wanted to call out Kawa and specifically Kim. Kim, actually.
That's what I wanted to say too.
I thought both of them
was so great.
Both of them did an exceptional job in their casting debut at the DLC level, and especially Kim, who I know through friends who've kind of said she was working really hard to make sure, she's got energy, she's got personality, but she wanted to make sure that was matched with deep game knowledge as well, and that all of her knowledge was showing through. And I think she achieved it perfectly. I think people were had really high praise. So yeah, a really, really great effort. It came across really well. It didn't just feel like she was bringing energy, but also very detailed play-by-play. So I think that is worth a shout out. It was really, really good effort.
Yeah, it's not that I think it's completely necessary to be a really, really high in the game, but it's not, of course, really, really good. But just the passion, the passion she shown, it was so energetic, and I can't describe anything. Sorry, but it was with so much passion she made that, and you really saw that, and it was so happy just to see, because she felt, it seemed like she always also was very happy doing that, and that's also great to see. But yeah, I think the whole casting crew is now in a really good spot here in Europe. We have Baker, we have Spessy, we have Kava, we have Kim, we have so many. I think that's top level casting crew here in Europe. I'm really glad for that. It was great to watch. They did a really great job. Yeah.
Yep.
Was really cool to see. And I think the chat was on the same. It seemed like they always say like Kim is on fire, Kim is on fire. That was a cool to see. Yeah, I think she can be very proud. Yeah. Shout
Yeah,
out,
absolutely. Yep. Yeah. So shout out to everyone involved.
Yeah.
But that was really good, and just wanted to call that out as well. Yeah, and the other thing I just really quickly wanted to draw attention to was this week I did something new and put out a video talking about the Green Steel deck in a little more detail on my own. Hopefully we'll get a link down below to it if you want to watch it. I don't know how often I'm going to do these things, but it's literally just like a half an hour stream of consciousness about the deck. If you enjoy listening to me yap on the podcast, you'll probably enjoy the video as well. And I'm going to try and do a lot more of that sort of thing. The response that I got from people when I wasn't able to attend the DLC was like nothing I've ever experienced in life. I had people offer to drive me to Italy. I had people who I've never met before offer to put money together to get me an alternative flight ticket. I did not think these things. It very humbling and just made me come away feeling like this whole situation sucked, but I at least have this renewed passion to just like do something of value for people and connect with them a little. So my plan at the moment is to just use my personal channel, which it's mostly inactive, but I'm just going to use that to talk about some interesting different decks and give like this stream of consciousness that can be an extension of the podcast experience a little bit. And yeah, so I'll put a link below, and if you want to subscribe to that and see them as they come, then yeah, please do. It's not high production; it is Guy plus Dreamborn, but
it is great.
Hopefully it's good.
Don't be too humble. Don't be too humble. It's great. I can just recommend it. People really like you. You just. I hope you see that, and they like you. I can tell you why they like you, because you are so real. It sounds so cheesy, because you don't sell the deck like oh this is the meta breaker. You crush every tournament if you play this. So you talk about it in an honest way. Which says, yeah, this deck is a reasonable deck, but it's not the meta breaker that you. I mean, it's a solid deck, but it's not like I made this deck and now you cannot lose anymore.
Yeah,
and that's I think really people appreciate some honesty like that, because we have a lot of other things going around sometimes.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, that's just I want to say.
Yeah, thank you. And I think that's really important to me as well. That like I really don't like the. I think everyone is always looking for a format to be broken. Everyone is always very ready to be presented with a deck list where someone's like, "Hey, just put these 60 cards into sleeves, and you will go to your local tournament and you will win because it is better than everything, and it is almost impossible to lose with. And don't worry about the mulligan. Don't worry about the matchups. It's so good you can't fail." This does not exist in reality, and I really have a strong distaste for the kind of stuff that suggests it does. So. And that was actually not to go back and dwell on this stuff, but in what we were talking about, like what happened last week with the response and stuff to those tweets, kind of hyping up our episode. I take the criticism, but it felt so personal to me because it was people were saying like, "Why are you clickbaiting?" And like, "Why are you doing this? It feels so unnatural for you." And it's like
clickbaiting.
I felt I get it. Again, I don't want to reopen the whole conversation. I get it. I get why it's perceived like that. But in my head, I was just like, I feel like I've done everything possible to not overhype like my ideas and to always bring the pinch of salt. And it's never the unbeaten deck. It's like I always lead with what's wrong with these things and tell you why you're not going to get 3 wins with them, because it's not possible. So that was why that felt like so personally kind of upsetting to me. But like, I also totally get everyone's perspective, and we'll make sure that things aren't miscommunicated in the future. But yeah, I'm glad you say that, because that is something I'm always trying to do, is that there are no 3 wins. There are no perfect outs to established formats, but there are different ways of attacking them that could gel with some people. And if you think and feel about the game in the same way I do, then some of these ideas will have value for you. And even if you don't, like, there's probably merit in just listening to the thought process. It might change the way you build decks, or change the way you choose tech cards, change the way you think about some of these challenges. And that's really what I want to just use this channel to bring, is low production stream of consciousness, but maybe you find some valuable thoughts there. And yeah, that's what I'm going to try and do.
Nice. That's good to hear. Link will be below, of course, for LD's channel and his videos. And I think it was a very confusing episode again. We jumped around a lot of things, and I didn't even say anything I wanted to say, but maybe we jump about on some topics next week. Tournament was great, deserved winner, and I'm happy to. Next week we will maybe talk even about, because there will be soon the first Whispers in the Well Lorecast.
Yeah.
Which will be very interesting to see. We probably see the first new spoilers of the new set, which is always very exciting. If this new mechanic that got spoiled a bit is like, then it's really cool. But it's very exciting, and maybe we talk about that. And I guess we can wrap it up, right?
Yeah, nice. The last thing I want to say is sorry if throughout this episode my neighbour's banging on the wall has been picked up. Sorry for everyone who hears background knocking. I know in the past we've had like birds singing and stuff like that. Wall banging is far less fun.
Or monkeys in the village.
Yeah, or monkey alarms. But today is just this hardcore banging coming from the other side of this wall. So just a reminder, this is not produced in a studio using any professional equipment whatsoever. So yeah, if it's happening, you hear it. But it's good because we're real.
We're so real. Yeah. Okay. Thanks everyone for watching. Till next time, and bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.